What's up, everybody? This is the On Mind podcast. I'm Greysen.
And I'm Mike.
And today we are going to be talking about our favorite TV shows and TV shows that have made a lasting impact on our life. Honestly, I know for you and for a little bit for me, like, I don't when it comes to TV shows and movies, I always prefer movies. But unfortunately, TV shows take up way more of my time.
Yeah.
And they're more addicting than movies are.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because, you know, you can sit down and watch a 2-hour movie, or you could sit down and watch 3 seasons of a show, and not realize any time has passed at all.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it comes down to the age-old question of quantity or quality. I feel like movies have definitely a higher quality compared to TV, just because of the nature of the beast. You get way more content with TV, but of course they have to stretch that budget out further. So, yeah, but I mean there are shows recently, within the grand scheme of things recently, like Game of Thrones, The Witcher, Mandalorian, among plenty of others that are out there that can show that you can have a Hollywood movie budget on a TV show, but it's not nearly as common at all.
I also, this is my opinion, might be controversial, I don't really know. I think TV actors are overpaid, and I think movie actors are underpaid. I do understand for the most part. I know not every TV show has the same budget and everything. But and I do understand that as far as a TV show goes, there's a lot more that goes into making a solid, successful TV show than there is a movie, especially when it comes to the script and casting.
Yeah.
That being said, I feel to put it in layman's terms, a TV show is like Starbucks, and a movie most of the time is like a local coffee shop. You're going to find more interesting aspects of actors in general in movies, and you're going to be able to see a more artistic presentation of their talent.
Yeah.
In my opinion, but also not to say that TV actors aren't talented or anything. They definitely are. But I do think they're overpaid. Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, whatever his real name is, for a while he was the highest paid actor ever.
Didn't they go on strike too because they were mad they weren't getting paid enough?
I think so. Which is actually crazy. At one point, I don't even know if that show's still going. I've never really watched it.
It's not. I think the last episode was a year or two ago.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't think it was. I think it was 2019 when it ended.
Huh. He was getting paid over $1 million an episode at a certain point. Which I know is it's unreal.
You gotta think though, what's the budget for that show? Because I mean, they build a set and they film on that set for how many seasons? I mean, they're not putting in a lot of money into it.
There was probably a lot of money at initially that was put into it, and then they've used the exact same set. Like I'm sure like things break,
Well,
like
I'm
they have
sure you
to
have to
replace
like dress the
things.
set differently with like different objects and stuff, and there's
Yeah,
props and stuff like. But it's like for the most part, the majority of your cost is going to go into the first season, and then after that, like you may have other sets you have to build, but I mean the majority of your cost is down. That's crazy.
yeah, it really is crazy.
I wouldn't be
Like
surprised if like he was probably one of the most expensive parts of the budget.
I would say he was.
Like that's insane.
Um, I would say he was,
That's
and
crazy.
I'm actually watching Grey's Anatomy right now, and
Grey's Anatomy.
it's
It's funny.
well, it's been a journey.
A spiritual journey.
I was never anticipating on watching it, but I ended up starting it, and I can't stop watching it now.
Yeah.
And it's taking up all of my time, all of it, all of it, and it sucks. I hate it.
There's so many
So
seasons. Like that show's been going on for forever.
17 seasons. I'm in season 14 right now.
Gosh.
So
Man.
I'm almost there. I'm almost there.
Wow.
But Meredith Grey, the like main character, she is the highest paid or was the highest paid female actress, like TV show
Oh
actress
wow.
of all time. I don't know what she made, but I do know for the first like 3 or 4 seasons, she was not the highest paid on the set, and she almost quit because of it. There was
Wow.
in the show there was someone else that was making more than her, and he had an important role, but he was not like the main character by any means.
Yeah.
And like the show's named after her character,
Yeah. I mean that does kind
and
of I can see why she would be upset for sure. That
yeah, I
is
mean
unfair.
she was older than most of the other actors too. So it just wasn't fair. Um,
I don't know
and I
anything
thought that
about
was
the
kind
show for the
of
record. To anybody
yeah,
who's
that's
listening,
fine.
I've only seen like, I may have seen like the beginning of one episode at some point in my life.
Yeah,
Don't remember
we don't
anything.
need to talk about it. It's like a soap opera, so we don't have to go there. Um, but so yeah, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and start out by saying I really don't watch a whole lot of TV. The
Mm,
majority of the TV I probably watched was when I was younger. And
yeah,
since then, I guess it's just because of the fact that, like, if a show doesn't, like, super hook me now, it's really hard for me to basically set forth the time it takes to watch a show. Just because, I mean, if you're gonna watch a movie, you're watching like 2 to 3 hours for like a longer movie. Sometimes just an
mm,
hour and a half. But with a TV show, I mean, you're talking like maybe like 10 hours a season. So there's
yeah,
definitely a lot more time that goes into it. So I don't watch as many shows as I used to, and what shows I used to were definitely for a younger audience because I was younger. But
for sure.
I'd say my favorite TV shows, which this is a combination of like our favorites and the most influential. But
Yeah,
growing
probably.
up, one of my favorite shows was Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I love that show.
Oh, same.
I remember watching the first episode of the show. Uh, I don't like remember where I was or anything like that, but I remember I did watch the very first episode when it came out.
Mm,
And like it was so cool and I loved it. Just the idea of like two twin boys just living in a hotel in New York, just having fun. Or they weren't in New York. I think they were in Boston, Massachusetts.
yeah, they were.
But just getting into all kinds of crazy trouble and yeah, it was just a really fun premise. It seemed like a really fun show and it was. I just enjoyed it.
Out of all the like live action TV, not live action is the wrong word to use, but for lack of a better term, live action TV shows that Disney made, um, that was my favorite for sure.
Yeah.
I recently I have gone back and I've watched some of those shows that I used to watch, like on Disney Plus now.
Yeah.
Um, and Sweet Life of Zack and Cody like still grabs my attention.
That's
Others
awesome.
like That's So Raven, don't care about it. No, I
Really?
loved it as a kid,
Yeah.
but I think it's hard to watch now.
For real?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another example.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about Disney Plus is I can go back and watch a lot of those shows. I haven't like rewatched the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, but or any of the other shows, but it's cool to know that I can do that. You know, like
Definitely.
it's nice to know the option is there for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Um, but yeah, I love Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I related a lot to Zack as a as an angsty teen.
That's
I wanted
funny.
to be him.
I always felt like Cody, which is hilarious. Complete
if you
opposite.
if you don't know me and Mike,
I
that
should explain it.
that's just pretty accurate
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
because
I would say so for sure.
that's awesome.
That is so funny. That is like so perfect. That's
Yeah, literally.
hilarious. That's awesome.
um,
Oh, speaking of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, so I don't remember their names. The two guys who played Zack and who played Cody.
Dylan and
But
Cole Sprouse.
that's right. That's right. Okay. I couldn't remember, but they're on Instagram, and I think Cole Sprouse does a lot of photography stuff, and it's like definitely more of like the artsy
Mm.
side of photography. But I think I still follow him. I don't know if I still do, but I did like his stuff that he was putting out. I thought it was interesting, which is kind of
Yeah,
cool.
he's actually a really interesting person nowadays. He lives in New York with his girlfriend, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
And he owns like a coffee roastery.
Ah, so cool. What? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
like he like his brother is, I think the only thing he's doing right now is Riverdale.
Okay.
Um but yeah, he just kind of like stopped caring about acting, I guess, or maybe he just got over it. I'm not sure. You know, you can ask him if you ever see him. But I know it's either a coffee roastery or like a brewery. I'm pretty sure it's a coffee roastery though.
Yeah,
So I don't know. That's just pretty cool.
that is really cool.
That like, and it's heartwarming to see a Disney character that has not gone down the deep end.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and like he takes like, I think he shoots film. I follow him on Instagram. He shoots mainly
He
film.
seems like the kind of person who would shoot on
Um,
film.
yeah,
He definitely fits some of that crowd.
yeah, and yeah, just makes coffee all day, which is super sick.
That is really sick.
I also follow Dylan Sprouse on Instagram, and they're both like really weird guys.
That's that's cool though.
Dylan has an Instagram profile that he like when he sees people like recognize him in person and like they try to take a picture of him, he will take a picture of them taking a picture of them,
Oh, that's so funny.
and then he'll post it on his Instagram and like type out some like super long, irrelevant, random caption. It's
Oh, I love
hilarious.
that though. Like I
It's
love that.
hilarious. Yeah, it's
If I
awesome.
was popular like that, like if I was like famous or anything like that, and I saw people constantly taking pictures of me, I think I'd do the same thing and do something like that. Because
Yeah.
I don't know how famous people cope with that sort of thing. That would drive me insane.
Yeah. No, it has to be difficult.
Yeah.
Um that's funny though. Are you have you said your piece as far as Zack and
Yeah,
Cody
that's
goes?
all I have to say. I don't have to say much. That's
I
all I
think
have to say.
I think I had to say more than you did
No,
about
that's
it.
cool.
Um
A lot of these are
my
probably going to overlap, so.
yeah, they could be. This one won't. My first one that I want to talk about is Lost. Lost is maybe my favorite. It's hard to say. It's maybe my favorite TV show of all time. I've only seen it through one time. I need to go back and watch it again. But it's so sick. Um love it or hate it. I mean, like you either love the show or you hate the show, especially the ending. I wasn't a super big fan of the ending,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. Like, and life goes on. Um, the character development is just out of this world, though. It, I think it probably has the best character development that I've ever seen in a TV show.
Wow.
If you've
Wow.
never have you seen it before?
So I remember back when I had Netflix, because I don't have Netflix anymore, because I don't have time for Netflix, unfortunately. But back when I
Right.
did have it, actually, this was when I was at Tribeca with you. I remember watching like maybe the first and second episode of the first season, and that's all I ever watched.
I don't remember that.
I don't know if I might have just told you in passing that I was watching it, and you're like, "Oh, cool, I like that show." Um, but yeah, I watched like the first and second episode, and I thought it was really good, but I just for some reason never continued. I don't know
Interesting.
why, but it definitely was cool. I mean, it's J.J. Abrams directed Lost, right?
I have no clue.
I'm
That would be
pretty sure he
so.
did.
That would be so sick if he did, though. I should
I'm
know
I'm
that.
almost I'm almost positive he did.
Wow.
If he did, I'm gonna make sure to like include it somewhere on screen for those of you watching it on YouTube, so you know.
Yeah.
But I'm like 90% sure he did. Uh, but I have heard that people like hated the last like the way it ended. Um, I don't know how it ended. I don't really care if you spoil it or not.
I'm.
Just
I'm. I'm not. I'm not going to. Mainly because
okay.
I can't remember. Like, if I could remember it enough to do it justice, then I might spoil it. But if since I can't remember it to its completion, then I'm just not gonna worry about it. But
Yeah.
I do remember, like, I mean, it's like a very up to interpretation type of thing.
That
Um
that does sound like J.J. Abrams because that is like his that's his style of filmmaking is he likes to leave a lot of he has this whole like mystery box concept
yeah.
or idea for film where he's like basically you just leave things up to audience interpretation, you never like spoil what's in the mystery box,
Hmm.
you always keep the audience guessing, and for a lot of people that's like well to me I feel like this doesn't bring closure, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, like, you're so invested for like 12 seasons or however long it was, and then for them to end it the way it ended. Okay, this is the only thing I'll say about it. Um they left it so vague that, like, some people interpret it like the show net like the what happened on the island was never real. It was a dream.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's
Yeah,
so dumb.
I don't think that's my personal opinion.
That's like the
Just because
most
it's
cliche thing ever though.
yeah, that's why, like, I don't want to believe that that's the like what was going on in his head, like the director's head. Like, I don't want that to be true. I
Well,
want to
that sounds frustrating. I haven't even watched the show.
yeah. I mean, like, it's it's one of my favorite shows of all time. So I highly, like, even if that might turn you off, then I still highly recommend it.
Mhm.
My dad has a friend who has watched it like a million times. He watched it like through like a few times, and then he watched it like backwards once, which I don't know. That kind of seems like a waste of time to me.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. But
But
I guess if you're
yeah,
really into Lost, though, I mean, everybody's got their thing. So
that's true. That's true. Hopefully, this guy never hears me say that. I'm sorry, Mister, whoever you are. um, that's my piece. That's my piece on Lost. That's all I have to say.
that's cool. All right, next one for me. Jumping again back into the childhood. It's kind of stupid, but I don't really care because it meant a lot to me at the time. I love Phineas and Ferb. Like, I loved that show. I didn't like at some point I got like tired of it, but like at the beginning, with like the first few episodes again, I remember watching the first one it came out. I thought it was the coolest show like ever. And now what I like more about it, honestly, is like the memes, like the whole meme culture behind it. Like I love
Yeah.
Phineas and Ferb memes more than anything else. And I think it's because like the SpongeBob memes are like huge, and like I definitely grew up during the time of SpongeBob and everything, but I never like watched the show mainly because my parents were like, "Don't watch SpongeBob, it's dumb." So I was like, "Okay." Didn't really watch SpongeBob. I'd watched it at my grandparents' house, but I never like watched it at my house. But Phineas and
Yeah.
Ferb I liked, and so like all the Phineas and Ferb memes are great. I love Phineas and Ferb memes. Um,
Phineas and Ferb. Phineas and Ferb is one of my favorite animated shows of all time. Maybe
it's
my
so
favorite.
it's so simple, but it's so good. Like every episode's the same. Like they're all the same, but it's so entertaining still, and it's just
Yeah.
goofy. It's just like wacky. It is like what a cartoon should be, and
Yeah.
what I really like
Definitely.
about it, and this is something I didn't learn about till much later afterwards, but the people who made the show like had pitched the idea to so many different places, and they finally were able to land it with Disney, and it was like, and it was kind of like a dream come true for these guys who made it. And one of the guys who made it, who he actually voices Dr. Doofenshmirtz, he's on TikTok, and he
Yeah, I
does
was
like
literally
all
about to
kinds of
say
stuff.
that.
Oh yeah, you were. Okay, yeah. I just think it's
Yeah.
so cool. Like it's just so neat.
No, it's really cool cuz he'll answer like a bunch of like questions cuz there's a lot of unanswered questions throughout the show.
Yeah.
Like, well, he doesn't always answer them. He kind of hints at them maybe. So like one of the questions is, so Phineas and Ferb are brothers, but they don't look anything alike.
Yeah.
And then Ferb looks like their dad, and Phineas looks like their mom. And also Dr. Doofenshmirtz looks like Phineas a little bit because of the triangle head.
What?
So
Oh my
back in
goodness.
back in Linda's, Phineas and Ferb's mom, back in her rock star days, because she used to be a rock
Yeah,
star.
she was the singer or whatever, yeah.
A lot of people think that her and Dr. Doofenshmirtz were together for a little bit.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I
I
never really
know.
thought about that, but you're right. Phineas and uh, Dr. Doofenshmirtz have like the triangle head thing.
Yeah,
That's
they
weird.
have the same like poof of hair going on too.
Yeah, that is really weird.
Um,
What? That
but
show
like
was so awesome.
Linda looks like in between like Dr. Doofenshmirtz and their father, that it's like her like, so we're getting way too into Phineas and Ferb right now. But so Dr. Doofenshmirtz has, I feel stupid saying all this. Dr. Doofenshmirtz has a triangle head. Linda has a round head. And then their father has like a rectangular head. Um so it's not out of the question for there to be some crossover there.
Oh my gosh.
You need a minute? Yeah.
I just love how this podcast has devolved from like our favorite shows to conspiracy theories about like these crazy love triangles in Phineas and Ferb. Like, what is going on? It's great. I love it. I
Oh
love
my
it. This is definitely
gosh.
gonna be one of the clips that go on Instagram. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. If you don't follow the On Mind Podcast Instagram, you should.
Yeah, definitely go follow us there. Do it like right now,
Right now.
because this is a podcast and you can do it while you're listening to the podcast.
Yep. Unless you're on YouTube, then finish the podcast and watch it afterwards, or check it
Or
out.
get YouTube or get YouTube Red, and then you can do
Hey,
it that way too.
exactly. Do that. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Love that show.
It is awesome.
Love that show. Um, my next one is so near and dear to my heart. I have seen this show in its entirety from season 1 to season 9 probably I think 17 times.
I know exactly what you're
Um
about to say. I know what it is.
it's off of Netflix now. Rest in peace.
Really?
Yeah, they took it off on January 1st.
Where is it now?
Peacock. And I think it's free on
What
Peacock.
is
I
that?
think Peacock is like it's a I think it's NBC's like streaming
Huh.
service. I think it's free. There's also a never before seen episode on Peacock, which
Really?
I haven't seen yet. I need to go see it. Oh, I forgot to say what it is.
Everybody's been in suspense.
Everyone probably knows what it is. It's the Office.
Yeah,
The Office is if Lost is not my favorite show, then it's The Office.
that show is just
I
a masterpiece. It's so funny.
I love it so much. I know so many people that hate on me for loving it so much, but I don't care. um, like I aside from the show, I really just like Steve Carell as a person, and I really like John Krasinski as a person. They're the oh, and well, they're probably the two people outside of the show that I really enjoy
Yeah.
still. Oh, I mean, I still like everyone that does their own thing outside of that show. I enjoy it. I don't think there's a single person that like like something else from The Office that I haven't enjoyed. Um, but my favorite my favorite character in The Office is Dwight, without a doubt. I don't think like without Dwight, I don't think The Office would be The Office.
No, I wouldn't.
Spoilers real quick. For about 3 or 4 seasons, they take Michael away. And it's still The Office. It's not. There's some rough parts for sure in the later seasons, um, but it's still The Office. Throughout the show, Jim isn't as in many episodes because he got like a big break in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Um, and it's still The Office. But I think with if Dwight was to leave The Office at a certain point throughout the show, I don't think it would be good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that would say that it's still not good, or like a few seasons, like season 7 and like season 8. Some people say season 9. I really like season 9 though. Maybe season 6 too. Um, is like the low point in The Office. I still enjoy it, but I
Yeah.
think if Dwight was not there, like holding the fort down, then they probably would have been canceled.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. The second and third season to me was like my favorites. Especially the second season was just phenomenal.
Third season is my favorite
They're just so
in
good.
in my professional opinion, and it isn't a professional opinion because I've seen this show countless times. Um, I love it too because like I can like anyone that loves The Office, like you can just talk about The Office and like you will have an interesting conversation
Yeah.
going. Like me and my
Yeah.
brother, he loves it. He loves it too.
That's
And we can
awesome.
always like reference The Office
That's so awesome.
and just like yeah. Shout out to him. He's a super big supporter of this podcast.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's all I have to say. I could talk about that show for a while, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna spare everybody.
Well, I will say a few things about it. I think it's just like just the type of comedy is it I mean, it's so like masterfully done because it feels like like the fact that it's a mockumentary. I can't really think of too many mockumentaries that exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like there aren't too many of them. And the fact that that got just so big, just the humor of it, because what's so great about it is I think the fact that like it's definitely an exaggeration of like personality types, but like these people exist like to a certain extent, and I think that's
Yeah.
just what makes it great. Because like throughout your professional career, you run into these people, and you know they won't be as extreme as they are portrayed in the show, but like these people definitely exist, and I think that just makes it all the more interesting and
That's why.
funny.
That's why my dad. That's why my dad likes it so much. Is because he's like I know these people. Like in my office, like I know these people.
Yeah,
Um.
it's such a great way of like pointing out like American culture and just like
Yeah.
making fun of certain aspects of it without being like derogatory towards it at the same time. I think that's why like because I know they made like a UK office and things like that. And I think it's just because like it catered towards the UK and not America. And so like Americans like couldn't get onto it. You
Yeah.
know.
I never watched that one. I heard it wasn't good. My brother
I
said it
I
wasn't that good.
I know the guy who plays I can't remember his name for some stupid reason. I think his last name's Freeman. But I know the guy who plays Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit, and he also plays Watson in the Sherlock TV show with
Mm-hmm.
Benedict Cumberbatch. He's
Yeah.
like the boss in the UK version, I think, or
Oh,
he's a
really?
part of it. Yeah,
Interesting. Didn't know
and I
that.
think that was like his big thing or whatever. I think that's the earliest thing I know he was in.
I thought I thought there's an episode in The Office where this British actor comes on and him and Michael meet in the elevator and they like just like start like really hitting it off with each other. And I think that was I thought he was the boss in the UK version, and
Oh
I thought
yeah,
that was like a
like a
hat
nod.
tip
Yeah,
to yeah, um,
maybe it
just
is.
to
I don't
like
know. I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong.
what's that guy's name? He's a British comedian. Uh, that's gonna kill me. We'll include it in the YouTube.
Yeah, if you remember it later, you can include it there.
Yeah, we will.
Cool.
Anyway, moving on. What you got?
Yeah, so this next one is like your last one. Is probably my favorite TV show of all time. Because not only did I grow up watching this show, but like recently, with like Disney Plus, I've been able to watch it again, and I enjoy it just as much as I used to. And what's really cool about like the internet now and TikTok and stuff like that, like there's so many. Like I really like listening to video essays on YouTube
Hmm.
where people basically like pick apart shows, cinema, music, art, culture, and kind of analyze it and talk about what makes it great, what worked for it, things like that. Um, and like on TikTok, there's a huge following around this show, especially with people like in our generation, because we grew up with this show. But it'd be the Clone Wars animated TV show. That show, like
Yeah.
I remember as an 8 or 9 year old going to the theater and watching the movie and thinking it was awesome, even though it definitely sucked. Like that's the only part of the show that like didn't do well because essentially George Lucas. This was because really the Clone Wars show is the last piece of Star Wars George Lucas worked on, and he like
Mm-hmm.
seriously had his hand in it. Um, and he basically told the crew who were making the show to basically take like 3 or 4 episodes, put them together, make them into a feature length movie, and that it was going to be in theaters. Like midway through, they were working on like the first season, and so the movie feels really
Interesting.
weird because it's literally 4 episodes that they basically like added transitional scenes in to make it feel like a
Huh.
film, but it's really just 4 episodes of the show that was supposed to be in the first season.
I don't think I'm sure I did know that, but I don't. I can't. I didn't think I knew that.
So
You probably told me at some point.
yeah, probably. But the show definitely was off to a really rough start. But being a kid, like I didn't care. Like I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Um, but the first and second season were good at setting up everything, but the animation was really rough
Mm.
because the Lucasfilm studio that helped make the show was like brand new. Like their animation, like they had never done anything before. Like it was completely new.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, you get to like season three and on. I mean, it is like perfection, and just the way that because the show is very sporadic. It's like, especially in the first few seasons, it follows random characters. Like you have like the main characters like Anakin and his Padawan Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and Captain
Mm.
Rex, who's like the leader of Anakin's army.
Yeah.
um, it follows those like main characters, but it goes off and follows like all these random plots. And once you get into later seasons, it starts to merge everything together, and it's like so perfect. How and I'm telling you, the character development is probably the best character development in Star Wars. Like you see stuff
Interesting.
change and things get brought up about Star Wars and like what war means to the galaxy and what different things are like that none of the movies ever go into. Like what it means to be a clone trooper, like the psychology behind it. And there's a lot of really cool stuff that they get into in the show that Star Wars just like never touches on in the movies.
Yeah.
And again, these ideas came from like George Lucas himself. So much of it is like the stories that he always wanted to tell that he never really could fit into regular Star Wars, and it's just really cool because of that. Also, the guy who directed it and pretty much went on to finish it because the show was canceled in 2012 when Disney bought the license for Star Wars. They decided just to end the show.
Yeah.
Um, and there's some stuff that like the last episode, some major stuff happens, which is like a huge cliffhanger, and they canceled the show, which was like the biggest letdown ever.
It's the
I don't want to
worst.
go into that because like those are some like major spoilers if you ever are gonna watch it.
I
But
probably will at some point. At some point, I
yeah.
will.
But then they released like a few episodes that they were like working on Netflix, and they released those, but they like didn't finish up the series. And then with Disney Plus in 2020, the beginning of 2020, they released the final season, and they like brought all the people who worked on it back, and they put like a ton of money into it, and they finished the season. They
That's
finished the
awesome.
show, and it coincides with episode three, and it's so good.
That's
Like it
so
is just
cool.
like perfection. Um, I
Yeah, I need to watch it. I've been told. I mean, you've told me to watch it.
yeah,
I've had several people tell me to watch it.
I've definitely gone on for too
Uh,
long about it, but I can't stop talking. I think it's my favorite show like ever. So
yeah. I mean, like I've heard it's incredible.
it is really good.
Um.
And the guy who directed it is the same guy who directed a lot of episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah,
So
that's cool.
and he's also making The
Um.
Mandalorian now. So that's cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Uh. I My next one isn't like a show, like a specific show, but I really want to just talk about my love for documentaries real quick.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I really do enjoy a lot of documentaries, and I don't watch them that often, but I think I really enjoy movies that are filmed like documentaries. Um, but I think that it's kind of a waste. I think if you're going to do something, not a waste, but I think if you're going to do something like a documentary, you should just do a documentary and like make it epic.
Yeah.
I like there's been a lot of documentaries that I have like been obsessed with. Um there's one in particular. Oh, it's called The Wild Country. And it's about this cult leader in the middle of, I want to say Utah or Kansas. I can't remember, but it's just like a documentary about this cult leader and his like camp that he and his like his society that he set up in the middle of the desert somewhere or in the middle of nowhere somewhere, and it's the best documentary I've ever seen.
Wow.
It's so good. If you're into like weird like cult type shows or like cult type stuff or like murder mystery like that like kind of genre, you would love it. It's I mean it's just so good. So
That
you have
stuff
that
is so cool. Yeah.
you have that aspect of documentaries, and then you have Tiger King. Um which I also think was a phenomenal documentary. I loved it. Uh I I mean, it was kind of like formulated for me for my enjoyment. Like everything about it was like they're like they were like, "Ooh, Grayson would like that. Grayson would really like that." Um
That's so awesome.
no, but it's I mean, I loved that show. I mean, some people didn't like it. My mom didn't care about it, and that's fine. But I loved it. I I just think it was super well done. And the cool thing about it is it's all real. Like this is stuff that happened, and that happened pretty recently. Um and it's just crazy to see like candid shots. Well, you can say candid. They're probably not 100%
Yeah.
candid. Just like a looking glass into these bizarre people's lives. Like there's no one else in the world like these people
Yeah.
on that show. Like Joe Exotic, like that person, he there's if I could dream up a person to be the most chaotic character I can think of, it wouldn't be as crazy as he is. He's something else for sure. Anyway, I really enjoy documentaries of all types. I really like conspiracy documentaries as well. And I say this to try to push myself to watch more documentaries because I don't watch enough.
Yeah. No, I just think that you can learn so much from documentaries, whether they're just interesting or goofy or they just show like something crazy about like just the world that we live in. I think
Yeah.
documentaries really have the power to like when I think of films that make a lot of like cultural change or they actually have like a positive impact or they can bring awareness to something, I normally think of documentaries. Which isn't
Yeah.
always the case, but I
And
normally think of documentaries as having that power.
let me yeah, let me correct myself as well. I said earlier that like films that are kind of uh made like documentaries are a waste. That I don't actually that I misspoke. That's not actually how I feel. I think if your budget only allows you to make a documentary the length of a normal film, like 2 to 3 hours, then that's fine. Like do what your budget can allow you to do. There was a documentary movie made here in Nashville. I never watched it. I wish I could find it somewhere, but it's about this homeless camp somewhere like outside of the city or
Hmm.
like in the city, and it's this guy that like lived with these homeless people for a while and like just like filmed like life for them. And I think like stuff like that is really important too.
Mm.
So yeah, don't get me wrong. I do really appreciate the shorter documentaries like that. But if you have the budget, or if you have the like desire to make like a long documentary, like a season long, then make it happen. Like do it. Like find the resources. If it's a good idea, then people will probably give you the resources.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's my actual opinion on it.
That's sick. That's really sick.
Yeah.
So do you have another TV show you want to mention?
Um. Yes. Let me pull up my list real quick. Oh, yes. One of my other favorite TV shows. It's called. I'm not gonna actually say the name because I can't say the name. It's called The End of the Blank World.
Oh, I
You
know
can
what you're
fill in,
talking about. Yeah.
you can fill in the blank. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I think I watched it with you.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you did.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah. I forgot about that. That was longer ago than I thought it was. Have you seen the second season?
They made a second season?
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't.
It's unbelievable. It's a Netflix original, so you need Netflix for it.
Yeah.
Um,
Which
but
we'll get more into like Netflix originals later because I do have something I
yeah,
want to say about it.
same. Um, but my gosh, like as far as like quality goes, this is the best show I've ever seen in my life. And it's not even like Game of Thrones has like a ginormous budget, and quality is out of control for that show.
Yeah.
That's not really what I mean when I say quality for this show. I just mean like the attention to detail in this show and the casting. The casting is so good. I could go on. It's it's such an interesting plot line, and I can't say enough good about it. It's probably not for everybody,
Yeah, it's definitely not. I this is
but
kind of
it's
funny
definitely
you
for
love it
me.
so much because I did not like I thought it was okay. I
I knew
yeah.
you didn't like it. I remember that now. Like me talking about it just kind of jogged my memory.
Yeah. But like
Um,
everybody's got their show. So like I definitely thought that it was like decent. Like I'm not like saying it's a bad show. Um I think I went into it thinking it was going to go a very different direction than it did.
mm,
And I think that's where my beef with it is, and that's fine. Like I mean, it's probably not fair, but I definitely the more I've thought about the show, the more I've like enjoyed it. It's definitely a show that kind of grew on me. But as I watched
yeah,
it for the first time, and I haven't watched it a second time, but as I watched it for the first time, uh, it was okay to me. But I did watch the entire season, which knowing how many shows I've started and never gone through that people love, like that definitely means something because I watched
yeah,
the
that's
whole
true.
first season.
That's
Um,
true.
so that does say something, but yeah, it was all right. I definitely thought the premise was really interesting, and I do kind of like look back on how awkward the whole show feels
Yeah,
because there's like an awkwardness to it, but it's really unique and it's interesting. It's interesting.
there's a tension that is created from the first second, and it never lets up.
No, it doesn't. And I thought that
And
it did.
you want it to let up so bad,
Yeah,
and it never does.
yeah. And I thought that it did a really good job of going over a lot of like serious issues that a lot of people face, in their life.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was definitely interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a very niche show. And if you like it, then we probably have a lot of similar tastes in art as a general statement.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. You have anything else that you wanted to
Yeah,
mention?
I've got a couple more. This next one I'm gonna go over quickly because it's another Star Wars one, The Mandalorian. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's
I knew you were gonna say that.
yeah. I mean, you already did. Okay, so if you don't already know, I'm like literally obsessed with Star Wars. It's like a big thing for me. I try not to go too much into it with the podcast because I can make my own podcast on Star Wars, honestly, because I just
It's
talk about
true.
it that
It's
much.
true.
But I do enjoy The Mandalorian because I think that it is the best thing to happen to Star Wars since like the original trilogy, and I think it's also really innovative for the film industry just because of the technology they use. They don't use too much green screen. Most of the film is shot on an LED light panel stage called the volume, and it will change the way special effects are done for from now till forever. Um, it's really an incredible show. I love Boba Fett. The Mandalorian is literally a Boba Fett sort of character. The show's amazing, and the second season ties in a lot with the Clone Wars because the guy who made it, John Favreau, and he's the one who started it. But basically, the other guy who's working on it, who's like I guess you could call him like second in command or whatever, but he has a lot of say in the show, is Dave Filoni, who also made the animated Clone Wars show and made Avatar: The Last Airbender, and he was pretty much like the guy that George Lucas before he left the company trained up to be like the next him. And I one thing that's really cool about Dave Filoni is I actually got the privilege of meeting him when I was younger and I got his autograph. And he wears a
That was
cowboy
cool.
hat. He's a really cool guy. And he probably knows more about like what Star Wars is supposed to be and what George Lucas intended for it to be and what the universe is about than anyone living and breathing besides George Lucas. Um,
That's cool.
it's an amazing show. If you're a Star Wars fan, you have to watch it. If you're a sci-fi fan, you have to watch it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
it's pretty cool.
Um, I think you were going to mention this one, but I'm gonna steal it so we can both just talk about it.
Yeah,
Avatar: The Last Airbender is a phenomenal, phenomenal show. It I was skeptical from like I remember when it first got advertised. I didn't care about it. I
yeah.
thought it was
Same
like
thing. Same thing.
I thought it was like overrated. Like I had people like in my class, like in school, that like loved it, and I was like, oh, I probably wouldn't like that. I don't care about that. I'm just gonna watch Phineas and Ferb. um, but I had been when it came on Netflix. I had been told to watch it by several different people, and I finally did, and I do not regret it at all. It was like the character development. We've talked about character development a lot,
Yeah,
um, but truly, the best TV shows have great character development.
yeah.
Um,
That's where your
and the
story's at.
show,
That's where your story's at.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And this show is definitely included. The three like kids that the show is based around, um, just like do like change. They change so much, and
yeah,
it's so interesting. And I never thought I would like this show ever.
yeah. My sister is who got me into the show. I'm still watching it.
Oh,
Like
really?
I was watching an episode yesterday. Like I'm still getting through the show. I'm midway through the second season, so don't spoil the ending for me.
I won't.
But I'm like loving it. Like I enjoy watching an episode whenever I can. Yeah, I didn't realize because I remember I watched the first season with my sister on Netflix, and then her Netflix free subscription ended. She didn't want to buy it. I didn't want to get back into Netflix either. But I found out it was on Amazon Prime, so
Oh, nice.
awesome. So I've been watching it since then, and my favorite character is Prince Zuko. He is like my favorite.
Prince
I
Zuko is a great character.
I just like I kind of already know like where things are going with him just because of what I've seen and stuff like that online. So it's a little bit spoiled for me, but just the fact that he's such a flawed villain in the first season, and in the second season you're kind of starting to see him change.
Mm.
Um, I mean, it's just visually the show is really awesome too. Like it just is visually amazing. It covers a lot of like really heavy topics for because really it's a Nickelodeon's kids
Yeah.
show, but it covers like really heavy topics like genocide and sexism and I mean all
It's
kinds of
it.
stuff.
I think it's a really important show. For our generation, for people
Yeah,
that watched it, it probably had a lasting impact on like those kids that watched it when it first
yeah,
came out.
yeah. There's a lot of heavy
And
stuff that they go over. It's pretty amazing.
definitely, highly recommend it.
Yeah, if you
If
haven't seen
you,
it, you have to watch it.
it, yeah, if you
Even
even if you don't think that you will like it, I can almost promise you that you will.
yeah.
I can
One
almost promise you.
one really cool thing about the show is it's not like a true anime because it's American. However, the people
Mm.
who animated it are all Korean. The people who
Oh, I
basically
didn't know
created the
that.
show hired a bunch of underpaid Korean anime artists who were like being treated really poorly in South Korea and brought them over to the States and basically paid them like what they were really worth. And
Very cool. I love
so
that.
I guess in a way it's like a spiritual successor anime thing or whatever. It's not like true anime, but it's still made by, you know, actual Korean
It still has
artists.
that. It still has that authentic quality to
Yeah.
it.
And the level of like detail they went into with like the bending and stuff, because they use like actual martial arts like forms that to
Mm-hmm.
like inspire the air bending and water bending, earth bending, whatever. It and it's really cool. It's just a great show if you're into even if you aren't into anime, because like I'm not an anime person. Uh, like the extent of my anime is like Pokemon. So
Yeah.
this has been like a
Me too.
big
Me
eye
too.
opener for me. And I'm definitely interested in maybe checking out other anime from here on. But um, yeah, it's really cool. I enjoy it. The show. It's great.
Same. Um. It's really all. That's really all I had.
That's all I
Like all
had
the
too.
shows I had.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool.
All right. So now is the part where we talk about our most favorite thing of the week. This could be something we found on the internet or just whatever, something new that we thought was interesting throughout the
Yeah.
week. So Grayson, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'll go first.
Okay.
My favorite of the week is not something I found this week, but it's something that I get so much value out of every single week. I'm very passionate about this podcast called Battle Ready. It is the best thing I listen to every single week. They come out with 2 episodes a week now. They used to not, but uh it's done by Aaron and Erwin McManus, who are a part of the Mosaic Church based out of Hollywood. Um, and Erwin McManus, he's Aaron's father, and he's the lead pastor of Mosaic Church. And it is a lot of people would be turned off that it's like a church podcast, and I get that. That's
It's
fair. But
it's so
it's
much more than that
not.
though.
It's not even kind of a church podcast.
Yeah.
They do talk about church some, and they do talk about God a little bit and like Jesus a little bit, but like it's not even in that category. Like there's probably other podcasts that aren't faith-based that talk about religion more than they do,
Yeah.
and faith more than they do. But it's the the way that they can just carry on a conversation and make it so intentional is so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
um
It's so insightful just into like culture and politics and the world around us and
yeah.
religion and all these different topics. It's just a very insightful podcast, and I feel like they have a lot of educated things to say, especially in a world where it seems like there's so many voices that are so uneducated.
Mm-hmm.
and just like screaming for attention. This one doesn't, and I think that is what makes it so refreshing and interesting for me. And Grayson
Definitely.
introduced me to it. Like he was like, "Dude, you have to listen to this podcast." I listened to one episode, and I was like instantly hooked. And I've probably listened to like 30 or 40 by now. Like I listen to them fairly regularly, and I'm always excited when I see it comes up on my phone that there's a new
Yeah.
episode because they're really good.
Yeah. Erwin is by far the most intelligent person I've ever heard speak. Like, I mean, like, I listen to his sermons, I listen to his podcast. He's on other podcasts that I've listened to. I need to read his books. That's my next step.
That's funny.
He
I
has
was.
like,
Oh, go ahead.
he has like 3 or 4 books. He's coming out with another one this year, I think.
Yeah, I was telling my dad about it, and I had him listen to a portion of one of the episodes because my dad's a pastor, and I was like, you might think it's interesting, and he was like, I read this guy's books. And I'm like, he was like, that's who that is, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly who that is. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. This he really gets a lot of hate because of like his I don't want to say this word, but I'm going to say it anyway. His like anti-religion beliefs. Like he's not a religious person, but he is at the same time.
I
Like
think he
his
just has a counterculture perspective of religion, and I
yeah,
think
and
that a
like
lot of religious leaders hate that.
yeah, no, that's a really good way to put it, where it doesn't sound quite as offensive as I just
Yeah.
stated it.
I mean, it's still accurate. Like, yeah.
So yeah, they they don't always like agree with each other either,
Yeah, that's what's
which
cool.
is which is important. And they don't always talk about stuff I'm interested in, but they always make it interesting for me to listen to.
Yeah.
Like they're both into sports. I'm not into sports,
Neither am I.
but I still
I could care less.
I still like listening to them talk about sports for some reason, just because like they can bring like an aspect that is actually interesting to it for me at least. So yeah, that's my long-winded favorite of the week, favorite of my life probably.
Cool. That's super awesome.
Um,
Besides the online podcast, of course.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Actually, you know what? No, I will save that one for another week.
Cool.
Yeah, never mind.
Awesome. All right. So my favorite of the week is something I found just recently, like relatively in the past few days. Just through the YouTube algorithm, I ran into this new trend that I thought was really interesting. Do you remember like the whole like tier system, Grayson, that like became a trend like about a year ago?
Tier. Like, what do you mean?
Where like YouTubers would basically like, I think there's this one guy, I can't remember his name, but he's the one who popularized it by basically creating like a tier system for fast food restaurants. So you had like the S tier, which is like the best, and beneath that are like the other ones. And so he would basically take this topic of fast food restaurants and like organize them by like the tier that they belong in. And you know, like Chick-fil-A's up at the top. Chick-fil-A's like really good, you know. And then at the bottom you've got like McDonald's, you know. That's like the basic idea of it.
Interesting.
I've
I've seen that. I've seen that before, but I didn't know that this was like a thing.
Yeah, it's like a trend. But this is like an evolution of that in a way. And it's called like the iceberg, whatever, or iceberg theory or something like that. And it's a trend where you take a topic and you talk about things within this topic that go deeper and deeper and deeper. So, like on the surface, you've got the stuff that probably most people have heard of about this topic, right? And then from there, you go down deeper into like where it gets like crazy. And a lot of it is theory based. So it's like theories about whatever. Like the ones that I've seen so far is there's of course a theory, one on Star Wars, what was like the popular theories of Star Wars that everybody's heard, and then it goes like deeper down into like the depths of the iceberg, to like the stuff that I'd never even heard of, that was like super
Oh wow.
wacky and out there. And
For him to say that he's not heard of something
yeah,
that has to do with Star Wars is
that's pretty stretch.
shocking.
Yeah, that's pretty
Shocking
shocking.
to me.
um, but they also did one for Minecraft, which was neat. And I, this is a throwback. Dire of a Wimpy Kid. I didn't realize it had such a weird cult following, but
Interesting.
apparently, in some weird way, I don't know how this even exists. But did you ever read those books?
Oh yeah, I can look at one of my books right
Oh
now.
yeah,
I can
for real, that's
it's right
awesome.
there.
So his little brother, right?
What is his name?
I don't remember his
Manny.
name. Yeah,
Manny.
Manny. That's right. That's right. He has become a political activist symbol.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen that. Okay,
I had
wait,
no
wait, wait,
idea.
wait, wait. This originated on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the first video that this dude made, and I was like, this is some crazy stuff.
It's so weird.
And
Just like
this dude that started this like is probably like 17, like he's super young. And they made it, I'm trying to think. They made it to like just be noise in the
yeah,
political atmosphere.
yeah.
Um
I mean, it was really like a joke on everything, really. I
yeah, and
mean,
they have their own flag. We'll insert a picture of their
yeah,
flag.
yeah. The flag. It's just weird. It's just weird.
That's so funny. I was not expecting this to come up.
But no, like I found out about that aspect of it maybe like 30 minutes before the podcast. I was listening to the video on
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah, so like it's fresh in my mind. But this whole iceberg theory thing is just really cool because you could pretty much find at this point you could probably find any topic and just go down the rabbit hole with it basically. That's really what it is. It's just like weird facts or theories about this like cultural topic that just go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. And
Interesting.
it's just neat.
That's a cool idea. Maybe we can incorporate that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably one for
Uh,
like podcasting or something out there, but
yeah,
there's just a lot of cool stuff. So that's my interesting thing of the week that the YouTube algorithm decided to bless me with, you know. So
definitely.
really
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
I like that you like your favorites of the week are typically stuff I've never heard of or heard about, and I love that.
That's cool. Yeah.
I think that's what the favorite of the week should be. Um,
I
so
get
yeah.
into some random stuff, man. I don't know what else to say. Like I get some weird stuff that comes across like my social media and stuff. So I've got there's countless untold favorites of the week that I've had in the past. They're just weird. So this is gonna be a trip. If you haven't already subscribed and you follow us, like go ahead because there's plenty more to come.
Go ahead.
Anyway.
My favorite of the week is the fact that my software has not crashed on me this week.
Yes.
It's a blessing.
Dude, it is
It's
a
a blessing.
blessing.
I hope I didn't just jinx myself though. Even though we're coming to the close right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how do you want to introduce like the next thing that we're going to talk about?
Yeah, so okay. So one thing that kind of has to do with what we talked about today that leads into our next topic for our next episode is Netflix and the rise of streaming services and the future of the filmmaking industry after the pandemic and during the pandemic, really, because who knows when this is going to end.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you want to kind of start just talking about like Netflix and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we end here, we wanted to mention something that has to do with what we were talking about a little bit today. So, the main one of the main things that all of these shows kind of revolved around, I think most of them revolve around, is you can stream them all. You can stream Avatar. You can stream The Office. You can stream you can stream every single show that we talked about today somewhere at least. Probably on Netflix or Disney Plus is the most
Common.
is the place that you'll find
Yeah.
find the shows that we talked about today. So we were talking, and we just wanted to basically talk about the future of movies and entertainment as a whole, honestly.
Yeah.
With the massive rise of like social media and YouTube, that whole thing, along with like the monster streaming services like Netflix,
Yeah.
like Hulu, like Amazon, um, and it just changes. It changes everything when it comes to film and shows and like music. Like the music industry will never be the same. The movie industry is coming to a point where it will never be the same.
Especially since there's so many movies that are going like they will open in a theater and the same day they're on a streaming service.
I know. I mean, like, I'm sure there's a lot of different opinions, but I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it. I get it. I get it because of the state of our world,
Yeah.
but I hate it so much.
So we'll definitely go more into this in our next episode. So be on the lookout for that. It'll probably be up in like
Exactly.
a week or two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've decided that we're going to start releasing podcasts episodes every other week.
Yeah.
Just because both of us are so extremely busy.
Yeah.
One episode at this point is a little too much for us to handle. So two episodes a month will probably be the norm here for
a little
the time
while.
being.
Maybe if we get some breaks in our schedule, especially during the summer, we can kind of up the number of episodes that come out. But for the time being, like I'm still in school, so that takes up a lot of my time. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, just a little on-mind update for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you have made it this far, we so appreciate you.
We commend you. Congratulations.
Yeah. We appreciate you guys supporting us and listening and sharing and talking to your friends about us.
100%.
If you don't do those things, then you should start doing those things because we're just trying to make it out here.
Yeah, come on, man. Support the online podcast.
Yeah,
at the very least, just leave us a like on YouTube, or give us a 5-star rating.
Just follow us on Spotify or Apple Music.
Yeah.
Download our episodes. I think that probably helps us. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure.
Downloads are like thebomb.com. 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts, even though Apple Podcasts is weird. 5-star ratings are awesome. But if you want to support us on YouTube, likes is where it's at. So like the video, share it around.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all we got.
Yeah.
So, if you don't already follow us, like we kind of just said, follow us on social media. It'll be in the show notes, and if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be on the screen. And we will see you guys next time.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya.